Hello, I'm Nuveii, and I'm here to help clear my name and give some insight on my DDoSing accusations that I picked up about 3 years ago now. Before I fully get into this, I do want to explain that I did want to speak about this much earlier. I did not think that this was not important or something like that. I picked up these accusations during a time in my life where my mental health was at an all-time low and I was really trying to focus on bettering myself physically and especially mentally. I just came out of a relationship that took a lot out of me and all I wanted to do was move on. I did not want to keep sitting in the past and keep staying stuck in a time that made me very unhappy. I also thought that the evidence that was put up against me was very sketchy and it was all like close-up screenshots and nothing that really looked certain, and there wasn't any video evidence of anything. So I didn't think that, honestly, these accusations would be taken as far, but nonetheless, that is not an excuse for me not to provide some sort of explanation. So genuinely, first thing that I want to start with is I apologize for not coming to this sooner. It is important to me, and I'm really hoping that this video helps clears up a lot, not only for me, but for other people. All right, so to get into this, the first thing that I want to touch on is the first time that I got accused of DDoSing, which was back in late 2020. I started streaming in March of 2020, and about 6 months later, after my stream grew a significant amount, I got accused of DDoSing. Now, at the time, there was actually an epidemic going on Xbox with a website called Xresolver. Xresolver is a website where you can go on there and you can type in anyone's gamertag that you want, and it would immediately give you an IP completely for free. So what a lot of people would do is go on the website and type in the streamer's IP, the people they were helping, the person who was helping the streamer, and or the opponents, and essentially just hit them off from the website. I'm assuming in an attempt just to get some entertainment out of it. So during this epidemic, that was the first time that I got accused of DDoSing, although I don't think the accusations were taken very seriously, considering a lot of streamers at the time, especially on console, were having this problem of people getting kicked out of their game repeatedly because of this website. I also want to mention that there was someone in my chat who would come every day and do this to me and even admitted it, so I provided the screenshot, but his name was Deepsterd, and he would come into my stream and he would sit in my chat and try to do this in an attempt to get me banned. Now, during this time, I didn't do nothing to try and help prevent this from happening. I used to blur my streams completely in an attempt to hide the names, and I also provided an entire section in my Discord to help people change their IP addresses and attempt to get themselves off the website so that they couldn't be as easily targeted in case they ran into me or other streamers again. Anyway, I just wanted to touch on that briefly. That is obviously not the main accusation that happened. I just wanted to still touch on it just to clear it. Just to add some context to my accusations, I do want to mention that for many years now, and especially back then, I used to go through quite a bit of harassment and I was a big target. For those of you who don't know, I used to be #1 in the world for trials for about a year and a half. I had the most flawlesses, and it definitely got me a lot of attention, and especially a lot of bad attention. Me being a woman played a major role in me getting harassed and targeted by a lot of people, including getting stream sniped constantly, having my router hit constantly, and being threatened to get doxxed and swatted several times, and a lot of my personal information getting leaked. I do want to mention that I even had to have the police involved at a certain point in time because somebody came pretty close to pulling my address, and I wanted to make sure that in case one day it did really get hit and it did get leaked, I wanted to make sure that me and my family were safe. I'm adding all this information just to show people what kind of situation I was in for years, on top of it having to relate by causing a situation that made Max want to DDoS somebody. Now, time to get into the main accusation that happened to me at the end of 2022. For context, some DMs between me and somebody called Max TZR got leaked on Twitter, and these accusations got thrown at me again that I was DDoSing. These screenshots were taken out of context and do not depict accurately what was actually happening. So let me start from the very beginning about how these screenshots actually even came to be. These screenshots happened when me and Ara were together in a relationship and we're also carry partners. Ara used to go through a constant struggle on my stream where every time he would come on, he would immediately get hit offline. This was because his IP was static and it couldn't be changed, so once it got compromised by somebody, unfortunately, he just had to keep getting hit off for up to 6 hours at a time, sometimes even longer than that. While we were going through this struggle, we met somebody called Max through our viewer lists. He said he was computer smart and said that he could help us change our IP addresses and also possibly provide some solutions to help us from getting DDoS constantly. Over the next few months, Max did help me and Ara both protect our internet and prevent us from getting hit offline constantly. And slowly, me, him, and Ara all became much closer. And Ara and Max especially developed a pretty close friendship, considering Ara was the person with the main problem. So that's how Max came to be in me and Ara's lives. Now, during this time, I just want to make it clear that Max did not DDoS anybody for me or Ara. Ara and I never wanted to handle any situation like that, and we found no reason or had no urge to do anything like that. Max was purely there to help us change our IP addresses and help us protect ourselves from DDoS attacks. Up until, like I mentioned earlier, Ara started having a problem where he was getting hit offline for 6 to 8 hours every single day. Max at that point made me and Ara aware that he potentially had the IP address of the person who was hitting Ara offline and could attempt to hit it to see if Ara could come back online. Now, this conversation would have actually happened between Max and Ara had Ara had internet. But of course, because Ara was getting held offline, he didn't. So the person who received the DMs was actually me. Max made me aware that he was going to do this, and it was a completely independent plan that he made on his own. He DM'd me mentioning the idea, saying that he was going to try it and to let him know if Ara could come back online. And that's where these screenshots originated from. Not because I was giving Max constant IP addresses to hit on the daily, but it was actually because of a one-time moment where Max had an idea and made me aware of it, which looped me into the conversation and creating these screenshots that made it look like I told him to DDoS someone. So the next part of this is, why were these screenshots leaked and why were they taken out of context? Now, I personally like avoiding drama. Many years ago, even when I was active in the Destiny community, a lot of drama that involved me I tried to stay out of, but to give everyone a clear picture here of what happened and why it happened, I do need to mention my ex, and I need to bring up our relationship and make you guys aware of how our relationship really was, especially near the end. Just want to add that I am not trying to start a witch hunt here. I am just trying to inform everybody and give some context. During the last 6 months of me and R's relationship, it was very dicey and unpleasant. Ara at the time was a very controlling person and wanted to have me under his thumb. Whenever I would do something that he did not like, he would often ignore me for 24, 48 hours at a single time. And if I went and spoke with other people, he would only prolong not speaking to me. I only say this because when our relationship ended, I actually started talking to the people that I wanted to talk with and having friends, and completely started ignoring him and putting him off, which really upset him. This caused Ara to retaliate in a way that would cause me to get accused of DDoSing for the second time. Ara used to speak very poorly of me to his friends, especially when we would argue, and he set me up to be the bad person in every situation. This eventually caused Max and our other surrounding friends to not like me and to distance themselves from me. So eventually, when we broke up, all of our surrounding friends were in support of Ara, while I did not really get to have my side of the story brought out. Now, I don't believe that these screenshots were initially going to be taken out of context, but when I started speaking about our relationship on stream is when Ara confronted me in our DMs and told me to shut my mouth or he would quote-unquote end my career. At the time, I was confused by that comment because I didn't understand what career-ending thing he could bring up until I realized that he was more than likely going to twist those screenshots and make it seem like I was DDoSing people. I was hurt from everything that Ara had done to me, including cheating on me during our relationship, but nonetheless, I decided to not talk about it on stream and try to prevent people from discussing it in my chat. Regardless, about 4 or 5 months after our relationship ended, Ara and Max decided to spread those screenshots around and attempt to cancel me. I also want to bring up that there was a screenshot of me posting an IP address that Max pulled up. If you actually type this IP address and tie a location to it, it comes up to Grove City, Ohio. Max and Ara were really desperate to try and make a case against me, So they used this out of context screenshot in an attempt to make it look like I just sent a random IP to get hit. Meanwhile, this IP address is actually, or was actually, my own. You can see how desperate they were to actually make a case against me and try and sell the story that I was a DDoSer. Anyway, I think that's all that I really have to explain. The only thing that I would like to mention is, although I never wanted to be associated with DDoSing, Ara, on the other hand, did have several conversations with Scurfy, and even continues to have Max modded in his stream and kept as a close friend. Honestly, Ara did do a lot of things behind my back, so the only reason I'm bringing this up is to show the possibility that certain things could have been going on without me even being aware. So, essentially, long story short, these screenshots were taken out of context, and they were only leaked because of the petty reaction that my ex had to me breaking up with him. Once again, I do want to apologize to everyone for not getting to this so much sooner. The last few years of my life have been hard, and especially after getting out of such a unhealthy relationship, it took me some time to recover. But I finally feel like I'm ready to talk about this and tell the truth of what actually happened. And I'm grateful because I have a loving boyfriend now and better friends than I've ever had in the past. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening and sticking around for the whole time in case you did. And thank you to everyone who is understanding of my situation and everything that I went through. I will catch you guys around. Stay safe, take care, and have a nice night or day. Bye-bye.